The first thing I thought of when planning my trip to Antwerp was that I'm heading to the diamond capital of the world. I can't help but fire up the imagination, can it? Ladies, you surely know what I'm talking about. And men, just take note, after all, diamonds are forever a girl's best friend. Although I've devised quite the sightseeing route for myself. I've decided to start by immersing myself into the magical spirit of luxury in the air of this ancient city. Once upon a time, a dreadful giant lived by the bridge over the river. The river was wide, constantly traversed by merchant ships, and as they passed under the giant's bridge, he would rob them. Fortunately, the brave warrior Bravo stepped up to kill the giant, cutting off his hand and throwing it into the Scheldt River. This action, the throwing of the hand, is known as Antwerpen in Flemish, and that's how this beautiful city got its name. My name is Diana, and I have a whole day to get a feel of this city. The wonderful view opens up to us from the museum on the river, abbreviated MAS. This is the first stop on my agenda. You have to come here to see the panoramic view of the entire city of Antwerp and the Scheldt River, from which its history commenced. You can even do this without going outside. The escalators and observation deck are open from 9:30 in the morning until midnight, and the entrance is free. Although they say that Antwerp is located on both the banks of the Scheldt River, in reality, all the main attractions are located on the east bank, and my next stop is very close by. Lovers of architecture should definitely make time to check out this building, the creation of the famous Zaha Hadid. The building is actually the administration for the port of Antwerp and represents the two main symbols of the city. From one side, it looks like a ship, from the other, like a diamond. And also, passing clouds, when the weather is also a bit sunny, are reflected in the glass and resembles ripples on the river, with its faucets glittering like diamonds. But I've already seen enough of the river and of its glass case diamonds. Now I want to go and find some diamonds that I can actually touch. It's quite windy by the river, so as soon as you're in the curved streets of Antwerp, you get to appreciate the enclosing and cozy layout of the city. In order to get around like a true local, you'll have to do a lot of walking by foot. Gradually, you'll begin to feel like a part of the city life. The smell in the streets is amazing. Real Belgian waffles. Even if you don't have a sweet tooth, you're obliged to stop and try these, because it's specifically these waffles and the waffles irons. They are mentioned in the legend of Theo Uhlenspiegel. Do keep in mind, it's so yummy and sweet, you won't even notice that you've eaten it all in a flash. But it is very filling. Now, I understand why the people like walking here so much. They try to burn all those calories from all the waffles they can't help but eat. Okay. This is yet another gem in my treasure chest of impressions. Well, now that I'm fed and full, it's time to go see some real diamonds. There are 1,700 jewelry boutiques in this city. Think about it. 80% of the world's diamonds pass through Antwerp. And that's why it is easy to call it the diamond capital. Diamonds sold through the Antwerp Exchange are assessed and then receive an official certification. They're then disseminated to different countries. But when the stones are here in Antwerp, their price is much lower than anywhere else. And this, of course, attracts visitors from all over the world. What's the first thing you should consider before investing in a diamond? Probably where to buy them. Here in Antwerp, they'll be offering you diamonds at every corner. But here's a range of quality in Antwerp too. Don't end up with the wrong diamond. Look for this emblem, Antwerp's most brilliant. This indicates its high quality. Actually, at first, I was unsettled by the fact that the precious diamonds are that close to the rowdy railway station. But now I'm realizing it's a part of it all. Even though I came by train, I didn't have time to check out of the station, and this is one of Antwerp's top attractions. It's gorgeous. This building is called the Railway Cathedral. To run past it is unacceptable. Oh, I don't know whether this is magic or pure madness, but it looks like the architect designed the railway station to compete with the St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. It's simply exquisite. This railway station in Antwerp is rated highest among the most beautiful stations in the world. Antwerp Central is a true movie star. Several films were shot at this station, especially when trying to depict a railway station set in the late 19th to early 20th century. In the series Agatha Christie's Poirot, Antwerp Station's name appears on the screen so often that it can actually be considered one of the series' main characters. Today, it's a very busy and advanced transport hub. However, amidst all the beauty, there's one small catch. Your designated platforms can switch last minute, and you'll have to run to another with all of your luggage. Okay, check. I can now say that I've officially added this architectural gem to my collection of impressions. To get to the next point in my plan of discovering Antwerp, we could take the train, but it's better to use another means of transport. Riding bicycles in Antwerp is the latest fad. Everyone here rides, and it's clear why. The city is well equipped for riding bikes. There are bicycle racks everywhere, and you can rent a bike for only $4.90 a day, and that's exactly what I did. It'll take me about 15 minutes to get to my next destination. Hooray! There are bicycle lanes everywhere. They're even marked on the sidewalks, so a pedestrian unaccustomed to biking in a city should watch out. Since the city is flat and not overly expansive, a bicycle is often a more convenient option than any other regular public transport. In any case, I barely noticed how I made it to the Michelin Park. Believe me, it's better to skip a couple of churches, which are obvious tourist traps, and spend some of your time here. Michelin isn't just a park, it's a special little haven, almost like a real museum of sculptures and open air, and they were erected here for a reason. In fact, the Michelin sculptors believed that artificial light, interior spaces, and walls are all things that rob from a state of well-being, with fresh air being better for everything. So, for any cultured person, this is the best place to come and see the most outstanding, discussed works of our time. This is, of course, modern art. And it seems to me that here, in the midst of nature, it fits organically. Sometimes the pieces look strange, standing in that traditional setting, but here it works. It almost looks like we're in some kind of magical forest inhabited by fantastical creatures. Nearly all the schools of the modern plastic arts are represented here. Expressionism, abstractism, and even some rare realistic statues. Even if you don't know any of the sculptors besides Rodin, they have this work here too, Balzac, the great French writer. That opportunity to form your own opinion about all of this as well as about other exhibits is worth a lot. And the best part about it, the entrance is free for all. Oh, a walk in the park will take an hour and a half. If you want a tour guide, you'll have to pay $86. Well, I can tell you, on something free of charge, that's not just any lady who slipped, but the real Isadora Duncan. Okay, now it's time to hurry. We're short on time. All my next stops are in the city center. Most museums close at 5, so it's probably best for me to head straight to the most famous resident of Antwerp. And here we have to choose. On one hand, there's the Museum Mayer van den Berg, and on the other, here's Rubens' house. You can buy a ticket for the two museums for only $9.50, but I've chosen the house, Rubens. By the way, try not being late because the museum, like anything else in Belgium, closes quite early. Everyone knows of Peter Paul Rubens, but not everyone knows that he was born in Antwerp, and a respected family of artisans and traders. For me, Rubens is the man who is both the symbol and the spirit of Antwerp. First off, he was Flemish by birth, and secondly, he lived in the city for a long time, right in this house. At first, he bought a huge plot of land right here with a small and modest, gothically styled house. Gradually, Rubens renovated the small hut into a magnificent Renaissance palace. Today, renovators are finishing up the house's restoration to achieve the artist's original intention. There are no particular famous paintings in the museum, but there are some created by Rubens that he made for his own pleasure, which is particularly valuable to see. The interior design of that time is quite nice too. Yes, Rubens's women clearly had enough place to enjoy themselves here. Of course, Rubens was rich and could afford having a huge house, which, by the way, was not just a dwelling, but an artist's workshop too. Customers could come to this special room right here and regard his masterpieces. His works are incredibly impressive in size because they were created for luxurious mansions, palaces, and of course, churches. Although my visit to Rubens' house was brief, it was a pleasant and very vibrant experience. I don't have much time to finish what I was planning on doing. This is the infinite challenge, getting everything done before closing time. Well, at least I don't have to search for the next point on my itinerary. It's impossible to pass the Cathedral of Our Lady in Antwerp. It was being built, like most Gothic cathedrals, for several centuries, but the result is impressive. Even Napoleon admired it and called it Spire Brabantlees. According to one urban legend, the Russian Tsar Peter the Great made quite the impression on the city dwellers when he visited Antwerp for 3 days. The Tsar scaled the spire of the cathedral using only a rope. He couldn't believe that the height of the cathedral was 404 feet and measured it with a plumb line, as is done to measure the depth of body of water. You have to see it with your own eyes, and I'll tell you why. Apart from the cathedral itself, the main attraction here is Rubens's paintings. His masterpieces have the most realistic depictions of biblical scenes. And that's not all. Unexpectedly, you can also see a sculpture by the artist known for his notorious exhibition at the Hermitage, John Fabre, the man who bears the cross. The Belgians love Fabre so much that they renovated the interior of the church for his first time in 100 years in order to accommodate his work right here. Perhaps it has some sort of great conceptual value, but I prefer classical art. The paintings captivated the famous Russian poet Blok, so much that he referred to it in his poem Antwerp. Just look into the midst of ages in the tranquil museum where Quentin Massey's has been reigning, where the golden dress of Salome is jeweled with bouquets of flowers. But now, I can proudly say that all the gems and treasures I wanted to discover in one day in Antwerp have been found and stored in my heart. This means I can finally wander freely around the city. Oh, and that's the monument dedicated to the urban legend I told you about earlier. Everything's included. Brabe, the hand, the river. Oh, the river is depicted beautifully. Schnelt, not Schlem River. And look, the giant's right there too, with his legs twisted over there. Funny enough, the head, the hands already chopped off, or it, well, you see, he didn't only chop off hands, but heads too. Wow, yeah, overall, the guy was pretty brutal. He chopped off heads and hands. Oh my God, well, that's actually a severed hand. It's so nice to wander around without any particular purpose, just letting my curiosity lead, peering into any open gates and down new streets. You can bump into so many unexpected treasures. I bet there's no guidebook that will lead you to this secret spot. This patio is where the world's first international stock exchange took place in the 16th century. There's no stock exchange here anymore, but the wonderful patio remains. Antwerp turned out to be a pretty modest city. People here like to call themselves masters of compromise, and I think you can tell. I feel quite relaxed here. But I think it's undeniable, as the world's diamond capital, even if unimposing, the city's security measures, I'm sure, are effective. Money doesn't like too much fuss. Overall, there aren't many tourists in Antwerp, which is, of course, a relief. You can feel free to take a selfie with the monuments and cathedrals in the background without any rowdy crowds of tourists behind you. It's awesome. It's already dark out. I think it's safe to say that even in a day, I got the chance to properly immerse in the city's atmosphere. And in the end, if you follow the guidebook too closely, you won't experience the thrilling serendipity of travel. Discovering Antwerp is like digging through a jewelry box. From the brilliance of its diamonds, the brightness of Belgian design, the precision of paintings, and, of course, to the weightless layers of mouth-watering waffles. My name's Diana. See you in the next city. Bye-bye.